On today's show, I build a PC from scratch, secondary displays for racing, Enthusia, and tops in cars. This show is sponsored by Sim Raceway. Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm your host, Jessica Lopez.
I'm Darren Ganji.
And today is our 63rd edition of Inside Sim Racing, which
That's right.
we stopped mentioning the numbers of our episodes.
Yeah, we had a request in a few forums saying, hey, you guys don't name your episodes anymore. So I thought, what the heck.
And I miss it as well. So
there you have it.
Here you have it, 63rd edition. And we're going retro with reviewing Enthusia.
Look at this dude. Look at this guy with the freaky eyes. This has such a trippy intro for a racing
Actually,
title.
the music was kind of cool. It's kind of jazzy.
Yeah, you were grooving on it,
I was kind of feeling it.
And so we went old school, Konami.
Yeah, it's by developed by or produced or
everything.
Produced everything by Konami.
Distributed. And you know what? Konami makes no reference to this game anymore at their website. I went and checked their forums. Actually, there's a website address here. We'll put we can put it up, but it's konami.com//Enthusia. It doesn't even exist anymore. It's a dead page. So it's like this is like the game they don't want to talk about anymore. The game no longer exists. Yeah.
And this came out on the tail end of PS2's lifespan, right? Mm-hmm. As you mentioned earlier.
It did, yes. Right around when Gran Turismo 4 came out. So Gran Turismo 4 took a lot of the thunder away from this title, and I think because of the graphics, you mentioned the graphics.
Yeah, I played it earlier. It's actually a very fun game, very realistic, plays like a sim.
We have some footage of her at the wheel. Everybody's been asking for footage of her driving. She got to drive today. Did you have fun?
I did have fun. It plays like a sim, and I enjoyed a lot of the game. Was kind of difficult in the beginning. Took me a while to...
About 15 laps
About 15 laps to get the hang of it. But
I stole your line.
Yeah, that's cool. Don't worry about it.
I owed you.
Yeah. All right, that's something personal. But anyways,
little inside joke there.
Yeah, so it's a pretty cool game, and the graphics were a little bit lacking.
Physics and force feedback, though, are really good. I was really impressed. We had a lot of requests for this game, and
it has over 200 cars from 50 different manufacturers. And Darren, together with Sean, did a little and Meek, but did a little review on the game, and we didn't put it on any of our scales or rate it, but we did do a small review, and here it is.
Well, you guys really didn't leave me a whole lot to say about this game, I guess, other than what I think, which is important. But
it is very important.
You've heard all the details. It's older, graphics aren't so amazing. We got this game in, and you know me, I kind of laugh at everything. I laughed at the game just because of the age, PlayStation 2.
I kind of laughed at the name.
Yeah, Enthusia. And then we plugged it in, and despite very mediocre graphics, I played it for hours and hours and hours. It's got a very cool career mode. It's not just earning money, but it's also like you kind of get to do some gambling in a weird way. There are like odds on your cars, and picking a car might pay you more than another car. And it was a completely refreshing approach to a sim career. Its graphics were mediocre, but the physics were good. I mean, I'm going on and on and on here. I was shocked, actually. I mean, I can't even believe it. It's today it doesn't hold up to the standards.
And the most dramatic intro of all time for a racing game.
I don't even get the intro. I've watched it. It's really weird. It's got this hot chick. It's got the freaky Asian dude.
It's Olivia Munn, like I said.
It is Olivia Munn. But the story I've watched, it almost seems like Daddy died racing. I don't know. Weirdness. But it was fun. If you see this at a place in the bargain basement and you just want another one, you got a PS2, it's definitely good to have in your arsenal.
And you know what? Yeah, if you have a Logitech wheel and a PS2, and you just want something to check out, and it's got a whole career mode behind it and everything, check it out. The physics and the force feedback are way ahead of their time.
Yeah.
I honestly could not believe how much force feedback and how good it felt and how great the physics felt for this old title. I was in shock. I mean, they have a little demo at the beginning here,
which is awesome.
During the actually it goes into this demo that shows this Mazda Miata, and it compared to the Enthusia one, and
I think this shows what they were going for and doing it. And the other thing that I dare to say, and I could be wrong, but I bet a lot of people have stolen from this game. So
Wonder if some of the developers, it looked like it was mainly Japanese developers from Konami.
I'm sure they all went on to work other sim companies or just new development teams had to have used this as a
base of some kind.
Yeah.
I see a lot of Forza 3 in it.
Definitely.
Forza 2, Forza 1. So anyway, there it is. Enthusia by Konami. Little old school retro review. We're going to definitely do more of these. Get some old school. Actually, we're going to bring GTR 2 on the show eventually, and some other old school PC, GPL maybe.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it. Enthusia by Konami for the PS2. Check it out if you have one.
All right, next up we have our top simulation cars of all time. And this is actually our 18th installment of this segment.
That's right, 39th and 40th cars. So top 40. Got a top 40 set of cars now. We will go after this segment.
Well, we got all our numbers down, as you guys can see. Sean did the honor of doing a little
project
and putting all our numbers together. So here we go, our 39th and 40th car on our top sim cars, which is sponsored by simraceway.com.
Home of the one-click install. All right, well, here we are for top sim car number 18.
I guess it's kind of a big deal today, huh?
Top 40.
Top 40. Filled in 40 cars.
And you know what? We took a lot of time picking these two cars.
Yep.
And got one from GTR2 and one from R Factor. And I'm going to say this right now, both are in the top 5.
Yeah.
So.
And this comes right off of putting a new #1 last episode.
Yep,
so.
the Formula Armoroli last episode got #1. So, and actually, one of the cars today, I'll just mention it really quick, is from Kart Factor, and it's the Swift. We're going to do that one second, but Renato Simeone.
Right, another one of his works.
Yep, another guy that worked on that car has worked on that one, so we're going to get to that one second. And then the first car we're going to do is from GTR2.
Yep.
And it's a 2006, which we got running here in the background, Japanese Super GT 500 car. It's a Toyota Supra. And if you guys aren't familiar with the Super GT series, the Super GT 500 series, originated in Japan. They run actually in a few tracks around the world.
These things are badass. I got to come out and say it.
They're pretty much, from what I read, the baddest GT cars there are. Actually, there's 4 cars that run in this series, the FIA GT cars that run in this series. A Ferrari, a Lambo, an Aston, and one other car. And they haven't even podiumed against these Japanese cars.
Yeah, and these things, when I look at them, to me, what I think of immediately is like a prototype that has really been made to look like a GT car.
Yep.
But, I mean, this thing is as much of a race car as you could possibly build out of a full-bodied car.
Yeah, and they're pretty stout. So let's just get going on this. So we got, again,
that's just to tell you about the type of car here. So now let's get to it.
Yeah, let's get to it. And this is from a Team BB is the guys that did this.
Right.
And this has been an evolution of this mod. And you can get it at No Grip Racing, by the way.
And this is, again, one of those mods that has multiple different cars to choose from, and we're actually focusing on one today.
Yep. Yeah, the 3 main cars that are done for this are the Acura NSX, the Supra, and the Nissan GTR. But this mod also includes a bunch of other ones, which we won't really get into. But cool mod. It comes in 4 different zip or rare files, so you have to open all 4 to get to the cars.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool mod.
Yeah.
This is the first mod we've actually done for GTR2 too on top sim cars.
Well, we did the Ferrari way.
Not a mod.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Absolutely right.
For GTR2.
So, and since you said it, it's GTR2, and let's get to some scores. But in physics, this actually was the weakest point of the entire car, scoring only a 16.8 out of 20. And I say only because compared to a lot of, and I'm going to say this is one of the best cars we've tested, that's a low score in physics.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that this was it's a mod for a sim that was created in 2006, and it's still, it's nice and done. I mean, this cockpit, let's talk about that. We gave it a 10.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch the hands as it's shifting, it's just incredibly done.
The wrist turn over, the way it shifts, the feet move. I mean, just tons of extra detail. Oh, wow, we're already long.
Yep.
Look at that. All right, well, anyway, you said it. In cockpit, we gave it a 10. In models, we gave it a 9. It's a beautiful car. I mean, there are things about it that just make it aesthetically one of the most pleasing things you're going to drive in sim racing.
Force feedback's very well done.
The sound, I'm a sound guy. A good sound is enough to make me think everything about a sim is good. 14 out of 15.
So what's our overall on this puppy?
Overall, 90 out of 100.
Right up there right now, third on the list. So
Oh
out of 39 cars, that thing is sitting third.
For GTR2, I just got to point that out. I would never have guessed that GTR2 or anything in it would have jumped into the top 10, and very well earned in this case.
I agree. So next up, we got the Kart Factor 1.0 Swift 009C chassis with the Ford Cosworth XD motor in it. We're going to get that car up here on the screen. Bring that one to you here in a second. All right, well, as we said, Kart Factor 1.0 Swift 009C chassis.
We kind of went back in time again to get this one. This isn't exactly a mod that came out yesterday.
From the, it actually came out back in August, so not too long ago. Actually, there was a prologue that came out even before that was just kind of like a demo.
Right.
And then this one came out. And Redline Developments, again, like we mentioned, Renato Simeone. I'm going to mention the whole team because it's not that big, that the guys that were mentioned at R Factor Central. Nick Ove, Dave Ellis, Justin Zyarko, Newman, Roman, Micah, and Sim Steel are the creators of this mod.
There you go.
Also with Renato Simeone.
And this is another one of those mods where, okay, we're focusing on one car, sure. You've got multiple cars all within a mod, which to me is just some of the coolest stuff in sim racing.
29 different cars, 18 different teams, the whole Champ Car series from that season.
You want to be Paul Tracy, you want to be Unzer. I mean, take your pick of drivers or cars, liveries. They're there. It's incredible.
But again, we focused on this one. We drove all 4 of them. There's 4 different chassis: the Swift, Reynard, Penske, and one other.
Different tires being modeled as well.
Yep.
And you know, that's more than the one model, and I got to tell you, I was biased by it and looking at just the one car even. Just knowing that much is there, and I remember coming out, I am going on a diversion here, but I remember when I came up behind you, you were driving, and you were in a race, and it was the closest thing I've ever seen sim racing to looking and sounding, and from the way you were driving, feeling like a real champ car race from that era. So
yeah.
I was very affected by that moment, I will say.
These are some of the baddest ass cars that the U.S. has ever raced.
I mean,
as far as a U.S. series,
yeah.
838 horsepower, 1,700 pounds these cars only weighed. And something that I had said yesterday or the day before, this is one of the few cars in sim racing that actually scares me.
Yes, absolutely.
This thing is ferocious.
Yeah.
And I love when you're rolling out, you know, at, I don't know, 40, 50 miles an hour, and you just hammer the throttle, and the back end, the rear tires just go up.
Yeah.
And I just, the physics are incredible.
Yeah, at that mid-range power, it will just step out on you, and it does it just the way you expect. The sounds go with it, the way the force feedback happens, it all goes with it right when that happens. It's amazing.
These guys did not leave anything out. If you watch here, we got the brake rotors glow. Mm-hmm. You know, there's 2 different sets of tires for the different types of. We usually only focus on one model, but there was Firehawk tires on one set on some of the models, Goodyears on the other models.
Yeah.
The sounds are the best I think I've heard in sim racing.
Yeah.
I mean, they just don't get better than this.
And for you race fans, it'll bring back memories to what American open-wheeled racing was always supposed to.
Speaking about score, guy, where's our score?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Give us some scores
Let's
here.
do physics.
We're totally gloating over this thing.
I love it. I'm in love with the mod. Anyway, 19 out of 20 in physics, and it's a whole package when it comes to the physics. I'm affected by so many things when it comes to physics. All of them brought together easily, that 19, which is as good as it gets.
Yeah, and that, you know, going to the default set, we only gave it a 4 in default set, but it was a tough car to drive out of the box. But then I made some tweaks, and they did exactly what I expected them to do, which goes back to the 19 in physics.
Yep.
You know,
they're incredible. Same thing with the damage. I tore off the nose cone, and the car drove.
Fire.
Yeah, if you blow up the motors, I mean, the damage is incredible. You can tear off just about anything and everything on the car.
Yep.
So
Force feedback, intense.
Force feedback, we gave it a 9.25 out of 10.
Make sure you use the real feel suggested settings that are in the README, because they definitely make a difference. Even the stock real feel settings were good, but the other ones just crank it up a notch.
And that takes me to the thoroughness also. There's a whole list of tracks that the car's been optimized for, so you know you're getting quality grip levels for the car and that it runs good.
You have 4 different chassis settings that you can change in the upgrades. You got road course, short, oval, speedway, and super speedway with the Hanford device.
Yeah.
I
know you're seeing the scores below, but I want to go through a few. 14.8 out of 15 in sound, 9.5 out of 10 in models, 9 out of 10 in cockpit, 9.25 out of 10 in fun factor, immersive 9.25, damage 5, skins 5, default set. You've heard the numbers. These are huge numbers. It is ready for a league to adopt and run a whole series with. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this. I mean, it's phenomenal.
I know what we could say. It's now the top sim car.
There you go. 93.8 out of 100.
Yeah, and it's well deserved. You know, Racing Line is, developments, I would imagine, is no longer in existence because a lot of these guys are, I know Renato is at Rita, but they just created that car, that Formula Armoroli car, which is incredible and deserves to be, behind this. But this mod altogether is just such an incredible package.
It is.
That it definitely deserved to be on the top, and this one's going to be hard to beat. I remember driving this car when it was in the pro. We had these cars on the show when our buddies Dom Doohan and Gregor Hutu actually helped beta test these cars. Did a preview of them on the show a long time ago.
Yeah.
Before Jessica was even on the show. So a lot of work went into these. The makers of Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Renato was on Grand Prix Classics, and anyway, we go on forever about this.
And the thing,
mod.
I mean, it's obvious by being #1 on the list, but I cannot think of a better car to recommend to somebody who's getting into sim racing.
Yeah, this mod with a track pack included, I would say would be one of the best sims
I'd pay $50
out of the ISI engine that would be in existence.
It should have been done that way. I mean, and there it is for free for anybody. I mean, you gotta love sim racing.
Yep. There we are, our long version of top sim cars, which definitely deserved. And for the top 40, we got now #1 with the kart factor, which you could just say that mod is #1. I'd say it's the best mod in R Factor.
Yep.
That's just my opinion, but I'm going to stick with that.
With you, that's 2 opinions.
And thank you for backing me there. And the Super GT, Japanese Super GT 500, awesome mod by the Team BB. You can get that at No Grip Racing. That's where I got it. 4 files, so
right on.
definitely worth picking up. Anyway.
And look at that, GTR2 #4 now. That's amazing.
Yep. So there you go. Our top 40 top sim cars of all time, sponsored by Sim Raceway.
All right, so now we're back up, and we're going to be putting a new item on to our show today, and it's something.
2 new items, actually.
2 new items, yeah. It's actually something to help you focus on your driving and not have to worry about your mileage or your lap times or other cars.
Yeah, and what's cool about this is one of the things we're doing is iSpeed, and it gives you an external display, and it gives you split times, sector time, or that's the same thing, sector times, split times, also RPMs.
And it's voice activated.
Yeah, which is really cool. And
that works with iRacing, correct?
Exactly. And then the other one we're looking at is rDisplay by the Pitwall Project. And same thing, it's got a Motec style gauge. We'll show that to you here.
And that's for R Factor.
And that's for R Factor, exactly. So what's cool about the iSpeed one, I don't know about the rDisplay, but iSpeed you can actually use on like your iPod, your iPod Touch, and
the guys were using it. They had a split screen or additional
a little 17-inch monitor.
Screen, yeah, that they were being able to drive and then watch all of your information off to your side. But you can download it onto your iPod or so that's cool. I mean, but
I'm going to show you guys how to set it up.
I don't know if you have time to race and then look down at your iPod, but
well, you got to set it up. Actually, I saw a picture of it today. A guy had mounted it to the top of his G25, so right in front of him.
But when you're driving, it's got to be kind of small, but it is an option.
Yep.
And is this like coming in downloadable form, or is it something you have to buy?
No, it's well, They're asking for donations, so it's free, but you can get them both for free, and they're just basically it's like a plugin. It's just a piece of software that allows this to take place.
All right, well, let's take a little look further deep into the
iDisplay and our iSpeed and rDisplay.
There we go. The iSpeed and rDisplay. Here you go.
Okay, well here we are with the iSpeed plugin or secondary display.
Yeah, there it is. Giant.
Setup. Also going to show you guys rDisplay, which is basically just like a secondary Motec, which you already got. Everybody's gotten R factor already.
Right. It's sort of information you already have, but it's great seeing it on a secondary display.
But this here is a great secondary tool that I think is a must-have for iRacing. And if you can't set it up on a secondary monitor like we have, hopefully you can figure out a way to do it on. We didn't honestly do it on an iPod Touch. I don't have one. I guess I could have done it on my laptop here,
right.
but haven't tried that yet. I was so fixated on my new toy.
Well, and it was so easy to do it that way.
Let's back up a little bit and give you a little history on this, who's developed it. A guy named Pete Ness, iRacer, developed this based on Stefan Turpin's Thud plugin.
Which for a lot of iRacers who remember that was a big bummer. Well, it was a great thing when he invented or created it. It was a bummer when later iRacing kind of squashed it with a build and no longer available for anybody.
Yeah, and that actually had all the data right on the screen while you were racing, which supposedly iRacing is going to add maybe in the next build. I'm not even sure. But
I want to go back another step. What we're talking about here is sector times.
Yep.
Sector times are not in iRacing. For real-life racers who know, this is a big deal. iRacing should have it.
You had that in your cart.
At my go-kart, it was that easy. A couple bucks to put a thing out on the side of the track and a beacon. It was that easy to get sector times. This is not complicated. All sims have had it, it seems. I don't know why. Anyway, I don't want to rail iRacing too hard about that. But luckily, with that Stephen Turpin's design, that was available. And when it disappeared, luckily,
Pete Ness stepped in with iSpeed, which, man, thank you, Pete, for your great tool. Everybody, it's free to download.
Yeah.
He has a donation button, a few different donations buttons. If you do a minimum $15 donation, it turns off the voice stuff that says, please donate.
Please donate, which you're going to feel compelled to do.
$15.
Yeah, this thing is awesome. That voice also isn't just there reminding you to donate, but is a key part of iSpeed.
Yep, it tells you your sector times, lap times,
differential,
all sorts of stuff. Another thing it talks about, it tells you is, if you look at these numbers down at the bottom, and we'll give you some full screen stuff here, it talks about your speed and time deltas, which, if you guys have watched like NASCAR qualifying or stuff like that, where you're seeing somebody qualifying and it shows you where they're running compared to the pole.
Green and red bar showing, oh, he's ahead or he's behind,
That's what this does.
And it does it great. And it does it in two ways, like you said, speed and time. You can actually see, oh, wow, I'm a half a mile an hour faster getting out of that corner than I was previous lap, or best lap.
Or my overall lap time, I'm a second faster right now. And when you're faster, it shows green. When you're about even, it shows white. And then when you're slower, it shows red. So what's cool about having it on that secondary display is it's not right on your screen, so it's less distracting. You have to really look down at it, but you can see it turning red, white, and green, which is
when I'm seeing
really cool.
Green in the peripheral, I'm like, oh, look at that. I'm doing better. I love it.
Yep. So, man, it's an incredible tool. Shows best split times, comparison to best splits, optimum lap times. And a lot of this is he thanks Stefan for this. I think a lot of its plugin was just implemented into Pete's.
Taking it to that next level.
You can get iSpeed at nestsoft.com. We have the link here for you. You can check out.
It's a small download, and it's actually amazingly easy to install.
Yep.
And then the other thing, well, we've tried on various different monitors. As you can see, it adapted all the way up to a pretty large TV here.
Yeah, you can put it on anything. And again, you can have it running through your network. You can set it up on a laptop. We didn't actually try that. We only did it, direct link, through the secondary port on the monitor. But that I think that was a cool way. We could have done it through the laptop again through the network, but we honestly didn't check that out. Also, there's a thing called Data Mart, where your lap times are uploaded, and you could actually download other people's lap times to compare them. Compare how fast they're going into a corner, exiting a corner, stuff like that, and, compare it directly to your lap.
Once you've installed it and put in your name, you'll actually see it find you on iRacing when you log in, and then it remembers your personal lap, and that's what you start comparing. And when you're getting faster sector times, it's compared to your best lap. But like you said, you can download anybody's and see how you do against theirs.
Yeah, and speaking of installation, Sean mentioned easy installation. Basically, you get the zip file or RAR file, unzip it. We just created a folder called iSpeed.
Yep.
Unzip it into that folder, run the executable, bam, this pops up. You can then drop and drag it to the other monitor, open it up full screen, and it's running there full time. You know, with the voice.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned voice activated. It's giving you all your. You can actually configure that.
Yeah.
You can configure this to show different things. You got a hot lap. You know, where it's just checking your hot laps. You have a qualifying session that it keeps track of.
In race mode, it actually kind of goes dark so that you're not focusing energy in the wrong direction. So
yeah, and it also keeps track of each lap time per car. So you change cars, come back to that car, and it's got your it remembers the data from that car.
Yeah. I cannot think of many things that you can get out there that are going to change your iRacing as much as this. I mean, it really will change your iRacing. It may be faster like that.
I picked up at least a half a second right out of the gate at Road America last week in the Skippy.
Sort of their motto too. If it makes you faster, donate. You know, if the great mentality, he made it, put it out there for you to get for free. Just asking if you enjoy it and it changes things, that reimburse them in some way, and I think that's a great way to do things.
So anyway, you can go to nestsoft.com to check that out, and then we have rDisplay.
Yeah, the guys at the Pit Wall Project. This is a very similar. I mean, we're talking about secondary displays and using them for like this kind of information. rFactor does a great job of letting you know sector times and where you stand and things. But and a lot of cars have a Motec display. So if you see that crystal LED or LCD, I'm sorry, display on the cars with the RPM and the tach and the speed and all that, that's actually a device that real cars use. So what the Pit Wall Project guys has made it so it could be used on a secondary display. You can put it on your dash, on your wheel, next to your monitor.
Well, they even made it with touchscreen compatibility too, so you can do touchscreen stuff with that too.
Yeah.
And again, they have a free version that's you unlock it, and they actually offer more features once you buy the unlocked version.
I think you can run it in full screen mode when you have the unlocked version.
They have a few other programs too, though, don't they?
They have like a Pit Engineer, and that one I haven't tried out yet. Maybe we'll try that out and bring it to you some other day. But it looked like it was actually giving you all of the telemetry of the car live. So
yeah, and actually, if any of you guys have checked out the other programs that these guys have, comment on them in our YouTube page or in our forums. And let us know what you think, you know, or maybe show us some pictures of your uses of these secondary displays, or maybe I'd like to see how the touchscreen works. That would be cool.
Well, and I think that's the coolest thing about this Pit Wall version and doing it on like a little mini display is there'd be a lot of awe factor involved. So if you have a really elaborate rig and you want to make it look even more realistic, I think this will put it over the top.
So there you go, our little tech tip, or I don't know, what would you call this one?
I don't know, kind of a DIY too. I mean, if you're doing a secondary display.
Yeah, it was. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you guys definitely check them out. I mean, if there's a way for you to run iSpeed, do it.
It's going to change your iRacing. You got to do it. If you're in iRacing, go try this. I would be surprised if anybody didn't enjoy it thoroughly.
And I'd like to thank the developers of these two cool programs for, you know, putting them out there for everybody to use for free.
Yeah, taking sim racing to another level.
That's right.
Now it's time for our top story of today, and it's a DIY, do-it-yourself computer build, which was built by myself and Sean.
Yep. And how'd you like it? What'd you think?
You know what? I was actually kind of happy about it for a couple days after.
You were proud of it.
Yeah, we did this a couple days ago, and for a few days I was kind of like on cloud nine, like, hey, you know, I built a computer, and it was a lot easier than I expected.
Do you feel educated now?
I do feel a lot more educated when people talk about RAM and this. I mean,
you know what it is now. You've actually held all that stuff and installed it into a computer. So we're going to show you guys what it was like to show Jessica how to build a PC. This isn't going to be a super in-depth DIY. I wouldn't say that you're going to know how to build a computer when we're done with this. But we're going to show you the basics and how easy it really is, and that anybody out there can do it. And
most definitely.
Yeah.
And I did have the help of Sean, who has some experience in building computers, but that's what we're here for. So now you have our help, so you can go out and do it yourself as well. Check out this piece. This segment is sponsored by simraceway.com. Welcome, guys. I'm here with Sean, and he's going to show me and actually all of you out there how to build your PC from scratch.
Which, for most guys, is a really exciting day. I've been building my own computers for like 15 years, and when I get all my boxes home and I'm ready to build it, it's like Christmas for me. I mean, it's actually kind of better than Christmas.
I'm really excited. I'm actually going to build it myself with Sean's direction.
That's right.
So if I can do it, all of you out there can do it.
That is right as well.
And we got some cool products. Look at all these products we have here. Some of them are donated by Corsair.
Yeah, they're very cool. This is not my new condo. This is actually the 800D case, which is a
That is a very big box.
Big box, lots of
Very
cooling.
big case to fit all of these very other cool products we have.
Yeah.
We have some also by Zotac here.
That's
and
right.
some that we've purchased ourselves.
Yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't get everything donated. I mean, you see here we have Windows 7, and Microsoft didn't want to give us one, so we had to buy our own. That's cool. We did have to buy the chip, which is the AMD Black Edition Phenom 2. Real nice
Processor.
Chip. We'll get more to that later. But yeah, Zotac hooked us up on a motherboard, on the video card itself. We've got Corsair supplied the box, the power supply, the solid-state hard drive. This is something I'm very excited about. Not like a mechanical moving drive, but like more like a memory chip, but big enough to be considered a hard drive. And something that I'm going to confess I have never done. Water cooling.
The water cooling.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean showed me earlier the normal standard cooling systems that were used in the past, which was the brass.
Yeah, the brass heat sink, very good. And the chip normally comes with that. We're kind of getting into this a little bit, but we're not going to use this. We're going to go with the water cooling, and despite
So this is going to be the first time you're using this system.
Yeah, and I sort of have a theory that water and electricity don't mix. So, but let's do it.
Well, let's find out. Thanks to Corsair and Zotac, our wonderful sponsors, for providing us these items. And also, we got the RAM by Corsair as well.
Yep, we got these right here. All sorts of beautiful RAM. So
we're going to open everything up and give you a little information on all these products, and then we're going to get to building.
Should we start out with the case?
Let's start out with the case.
All right.
First, we'd like to thank Corsair for these parts that they donated to our DIY PC build. The 800D is a versatile option for any situation. This case offers 5 5¼ inch optical and 4 3½ inch SATA hot swappable drive bays, with 2 more 3½ inch bays inside. The tool-free design makes adding drives really simple. The case is also large enough for ATX, MATX, and EATX motherboards. It also offers audio, USB, and IEEE 1394 connections on the front panel, and comes with 3 140mm fans with plenty of room for expansion. For cooling, Corsair provided the Hydro Series CWC H50 CPU cooler. Gives you the power of liquid cooling in a compact, easy-to-install package. You get superior cooling for higher overclocking performance without the complexity of traditional liquid cooling systems. The XMS2 family is Corsair's mainstream line of performance DDR2 memory. These modules allow users to experience outstanding memory performance and stability. We used 4 2-gig sticks of RAM for our build. The hard drive is a P128 solid state. The speed, capacity, and compatibility of the Performance Series drives are supported by the inherent reliability of solid-state technology. To power this monster system, Corsair provided an HX850W power supply that utilizes DC to DC circuitry and meets 80+ silver certification standards for up to 90% energy efficiency. We'd also like to thank Zotac for providing our motherboard and graphics card. First up, the motherboard, an N4 750A, specifically built for AMD processors. Packaged with features such as support for AMD dual, tri, and quad-core Phenom, Athlon, and Sempron processors with Hyper Transport 3.0, DDR2 memory, PCI Express 2.0, and SLI technology. The Zotac N4 750A is ready for everything you can throw at it. And it definitely was for us. Handling the graphics, Zotac supplied us with a GTX 275. The 275 is powered by a second-generation NVIDIA unified architecture and high-speed GDDR3 memory technology, which makes for phenomenal performance even with today's current games. Again, we'd like to thank Corsair and Zotac for supplying these parts for our DIY PC build. Now, these are the parts that we supplied for the build. We purchased an AMD quad-core 3.4 GHz Phenom 2 X4 965 processor, an LG 24x DVD drive, and finally the operating system is Microsoft Windows 7 Home Premium OEM Edition. Some things you should keep in mind if you're going to attempt to do a DIY PC build yourself. First up, make sure to ground yourself or get a ground strap. Try to work in an area where there's not too much static electricity. Read all the instructions. Keep all your extra parts. Familiarize yourself with all the pieces before starting. You also may want to download all the current drivers before starting as well, or you can do it after.
All right, so now you guys have all seen all the parts we're going to use, and we'd like to take a moment to thank Corsair and Zotac for donating these parts for us to make this DIY PC.
And this is going to be a monster rig when we're all
Yeah,
done.
I mean, this thing is humongous.
The other thing I want to say is all the parts we're using are really representation of a lot of different cases, for example, that you might use. So this is a good guideline. But let's get things started.
All right, let's get started. I'm excited.
Case, like many cases, this has two sides. The bottom, which many times you can't open. In this case, we can, so we can work on the wiring. And then you have the top side, we'll call it for now, and that's the side that you're going to be able to actually look down into the case, and in our case, start installing parts.
Get all up inside.
And I think I've done the last thing I'm going to do in turning that case over for you. So if you want to, sometimes you'll start with the motherboard because you have lots of room. But in this case, why don't we start with the power supply since it's kind of put off to the side.
Sure.
And then we'll have our wiring all ready as we need it. All right, so we have this Corsair 850 watt supply, power supply, which, you know, depending on the kind of graphic card, a high-end graphic card, you're going to need at least 600 watts. So we got 850 here, and we'll go ahead and see how much we can push it.
All right, so where does this go?
So we're going to bolt up right here in the back. And then we're going to need to find some bolts that came with it.
Okay.
You don't want to go too tight on the first one.
Okay, and then we'll just put the second, and then we'll tighten them up after.
All right.
Ta-da.
Nicely done. Okay, now we do have all of the wires that we're going to need to power up the entire system.
But first,
let's go ahead and install the motherboard. The first thing you're going to want to do is actually figure out which direction the motherboard goes in the case.
okay.
And the other is the motherboard actually, because it holds so much electricity, doesn't sit in the case but on these little posts.
Okay.
Now in this case, this board actually came ready for that. This case came ready for that board, and all of our posts are exactly where we need them.
But sometimes you have to install the post yourself.
Yeah, and you can see there's also extra holes because for different types of boards,
Oh, I see.
they might need those. Now the one thing before you grab the board, you always want to hold a board by the edges. You don't want to get your fingers or your oil from your fingers on the actual board. Now when you're looking at the board, you see this is where all your audio and things hook up.
Yeah,
like
and
the
you
back
can
of your
tell.
board.
So it looks like the back of a, wherever your audio hooks up on your DVD or a radio. This is what it looks like, all broken up. So we're going to put this in first.
And that's the dust cover plate.
And it's going to gently
Push in the bottom.
snap it in here.
Yeah. You're going to want to hold the board by its edges. And then you're going to want to bring it down and place it right here.
Okay.
And you are
on top of the pegs.
That's right.
And they're going to go in these holes here.
These silver holes.
I see them. Screws for the motherboard.
And I would start off by just really loosely putting one in right there. And also, you don't have to over-tighten anything in this process.
Let's do this
I'm just
side.
going to kind of hold the board in place a little bit.
Yes, thank you, my assistant.
You're very welcome. You're doing a fine job, by the way. That's it. The motherboard is in place, and that's one of the tougher parts. Yay! It's time to put the brain on it.
It is time to put the brain, which would be the processor.
That's right.
We do have this one here by AMD. Very sensitive. This is like the brain, like you said earlier. So
Yeah,
this
and
is
those are usually $200 or
very
$300.
sensitive.
And that's the black edition, so it's going to be overclockable, which means, again, try not to touch it as much as possible except on the edges. All right, once you have it on the edges, you're cool. See that gold arrow?
Yes,
That goes right there with that arrow.
I see that arrow down there.
Yeah, now the other thing is, see that little lever? So what you want to do is, there's a little hook there. You want to press down a little bit, just gently, and pull it out, and bring it up. There you go.
Okay, so here's the gold arrow.
And you're just going to put
my
it
far.
straight down.
Does the arrow go on top of the arrow?
Yep. And then settle down.
I felt it go in. Now I'm going to push this back down?
Yep.
Just straight down?
Yep. You're going to go around that little locking mechanism and lock it down.
I'm scared. It feels tough.
It's supposed to be a little tough.
That's the way it goes. That's good.
Yeah, you're good.
Are you sure you want to feel it?
No, you're good. You're building it.
It feels like it's going to break. It's supposed to feel like that?
Yep.
There you go.
There we go.
Now the chip, that is the brain put on top of the spine.
Now we're going to put the RAM in.
Yeah, and RAM is directional. You'll notice there's a little spike here.
I see.
And
There we go.
And see how it popped those in?
I sure do see that.
All right.
Okay, so these are all identical.
That is correct.
Oh yeah.
Well, we were going to install this H50 high-performance CPU cooler, but, that could take all day on its own. So we're going to do that for a later project, stick more on the do-it-yourself version, kind of put that away, and go ahead and install that standard brass-type thin heatsink.
Okay.
All right. So this has a protect cover on it, and under that, you see that little silver, that's like a liquid that will melt onto the thing and kind of help them adhere.
Okay.
I believe you can just put it down gently and then put the clips on. So it goes on, it has a little lever that's going to lock it down, and you're basically going to put it down, and you have two little clip points here and here.
Okay.
That are going to be for this and this.
Okay.
We'll just clip on like so, and then the cam locks it down. And then the other thing we need to do is plug that fan in.
Okay.
And so on the board we will have, so right here is a plug.
How'd you find that?
Oh, I kind of know what I'm looking for.
Oh, it does say CPU fan. Really tiny, really close.
And so you're just going to, you can see it has a little keyed thing, so it can only go one way.
It can only go this way. There we go.
All right. And just like that.
All right. Next on the list.
We can go ahead and put in the video card at this point.
So we got this Zotac video card here. This is going to be the next item on our DIY PC.
This is going to go in one of the cards here, the slots here, the PCI Express, which you can see it lines up with these big giant orange.
That says PCI there.
And it actually says Express right below it, and that's for this extra long tab. And then we're going to remove a couple of these slots that it's going to line up with, and this is where we're going to plug it in outside of the computer.
I see.
And then, just like installing the RAM, you're going to line up the card in that slot, and then just kind of press it down into place. And you'll hear it click in.
Click in.
Then you want to take the two screws and put them in, and that will hold it firmly in place.
All right, so this came with some cords. Are we using those, or are we going back to that later?
Yeah, we could definitely start doing some of the cords too. One reason I want to get the card in place is so we knew where we wanted to route the cords.
Okay.
And yeah, so under this sticker here is actually where it's asking for power. And these giant cards actually take two different plugs. Smaller cards might only take one. And those are directional, so they can only go one way. Very nice. Now we've actually powered up where we're getting power to the card itself. Now we're still going to have to power up the board and other things.
All right.
Now might be a good time to, I think we want to use these cool other ways of routing cords and flip it over and go through the back side.
Sure. Okay, let's lift this up then. What we've done is we've taken the battery, the power supply here, and we've pushed it through the back where we have these holes and brought it through the front here, or the inside. And it is to connect to this item here. Okay, there it is.
All right, and that's actually really cool. I've never seen my power cord completely out of the case. And this is all where all the airflow happens too. So having cords not in the way allows more airflow.
Here we go.
This one is gonna, ooh, are we gonna have enough room?
We will sure have enough room. It goes right up in here, right?
Right to that one, yeah.
I think this goes this way, right?
The other way. Very nice. And then maybe we'll kind of just give it a little bend, like so.
Perfect.
All right.
So we're installing the hard drive now by compliments of Corsair.
You can see Jessica's got one of these pull-out hard drive bays, which are kind of cool. And they're full-size normal hard drive bays, but they're actually accommodating that little mini one. And we were going to Velcro it to the inside, but Darren finally found the little mounting holes for the 2.5-inch drive. What's cool about this also is it's got a connector on the inside, so when you pop them in, that gives it power and connection to the motherboard once it plugs into the case.
There we go.
There you go. Now close the lever. And that just plugged it in.
Locked it in.
If we turn this over, now we're going to hook up the power for all 4 hard drives.
Okay, so we'll hook up all 4 just in case we want to add more hard drives in the future, right?
Yeah, because it's such a quick and easy method. So you can just start at the top one.
Yeah.
And you can see they're keyed. There's like a little L shape. Okay, and then the next one.
There we go.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay, now what we need to do is get it out of the power supply.
Okay.
So this is an accessory power supply clip, and if you look inside, you'll see little black boxes where you can plug that in.
I do.
And you can just
Should
plug
I
that
go to
in.
the farthest one?
Sure. And the tab goes down, I believe. And then what we need to do is run it to the motherboard. And this one here, you'll see it says SATA1. Mm-hmm. That's your first position, your number 1 primary drive. So you're going to plug into that, and then you're going to plug it into the back of that top drive. And then that takes us to the disk drive.
So we got the cover off here. Now we can put this
DVD
drive in to the case here. So I'm going to go
Particular
ahead and
one.
slide this on in. We're going to screw it down.
This case, and a lot of cases, come with some buttons on the front of the case where you can plug in like your headphones, extra USB, 1394 port, and what you're holding in your hand are the wires that we're going to plug into the motherboard to activate all of these.
Okay.
So what we're going to want to do is fish them through the back of the case.
We can go through, can we go through here?
Yep. And then I'll pull them through. All right. Now, you can refer to the motherboard instructions as well. You'll notice that a lot of these are labeled. So there's one called front panel. We got USB 1, 4. So a lot of times what we're looking for are going to be all over the board. That's like our power reset button and the little blinking light telling you the hard drive is thinking. Mm-hmm. Those actually all fit onto these pins, and it's almost impossible to see. But the menu, the hard drive manual will show you exactly what is what.
Okay, so all of those are all in place. Right down there.
And we plugged in the first USB.
First USB.
There.
Correct. That would go right here, right?
That is correct. And yeah, you can just put that right there on USB number 2. 1394 hooks up just like a USB. You can see it's missing a hole. And there's one right there called 1394.
All right. Now we're going to plug in the HD audio, which is powering up the front jacks, as we stated earlier.
The other thing is each fan that we use gets powered up.
Okay.
And often they're done off the motherboard. So you'll see like right here called System Fan 1.
I've seen that, yeah.
Okay. So right now we're going to hook up the bottom fan.
Alrighty.
And it's keyed just like the other ones.
There we go.
We do have another fan right here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking for another one of those, like right.
Should I remove this, or can I leave this on, or will this melt?
That won't melt. It'll be fine temperature-wise in here. We might want to undo it, and then what we'll sometimes do is put something to tie our cables together later.
Okay.
So you could just undo it, and then there's a switch, a plug right there for another system fan.
I got that. Alrighty. Move you on down in here. Okay.
This is another fan, and
so you guys are having to
remove the
video card.
Video card here to get access to
One of the fan plugs.
one of the fan plugs. Now I'm putting that back in. Okay.
Now, we had put in that DVD
Power.
player, so we need to add power to it. So I would just use this one here because it seems to reach. Make sure you have the key direction right, so it's going to need to do...
This is going in here.
Now go ahead and plug this into that drive that you just did.
And this comes with the drive, right?
Yeah,
With the DVD drive.
and with the motherboard.
And
Know the
this
difference?
goes into the motherboard.
Yep, and you can just go to SATA2, which is right here.
Color coordinated, nice and red for us.
And so now we have plugged in, we have powered and data connected our disk drive, DVD drive. We have power and data connected our hard drive. We have powered our video card. We have powered our motherboard and our CPU. We have our RAM installed, heat sink, chip, all of our
hard drive.
fans, our power supply. I think we're done.
About ready to fire it up?
It is time
Why
to fire it
don't
up.
we tie these up and put the case on the back here,
All right, I think I'll recommend we leave the case off.
just in case.
Just in
Leave
case.
the case off just in case.
But I'm with you. Let's go ahead and put some sort of a wrap on
We
here.
got some zip ties that came in.
So now what I'm going to do, and you do want to tie your cables up, and the reason why is airflow. You want to do everything you can to
Want
aerodynamically.
to add this one in there too?
Is that one? I was going to
That's
put
on
a
this
second.
side, but-
Yeah, I was going to put another strip over there. If you want, and for the people who are really, really crazy, which I can get, you might come back later and kind of unplug one wire at a time and string it real nice. You know, right
It's
now,
actually done pretty nice though.
yeah, I think that looks pretty good. You want to make sure nothing's going to fall into a fan. That's what's really most important and what we're looking for.
All right, so Sean's back there putting the final touches on this computer. We're getting ready to fire this baby up and see how well or not how well we did.
Hey, don't jinx it.
I just want to see it turn on. Last time I did this, it went a little rough.
Well, I want to thank Sean for instructing me and assisting me in building this.
Really,
and
it's not that hard, is it?
it's not that hard at all.
Yeah, I mean...
However, you did know where things went, so it did make it easier. But now everyone out there has this show to watch. And it pretty much is basic and goes along with any...
Well, and we didn't know everything. So, I mean, we consulted the
true.
manual, and it said, oh, well, that's the type of audio you're using. And there was the plug. It was that, I mean, so...
Yeah, it was fairly easy. If you can read and follow instructions, you're on your way. All right, so let's see if this bad boy turns on. Did it turn on up here in the front?
I think there's a little box that opens in the front.
No, that's it. That's the
Right
box.
here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, what'd you do wrong? Oh, I'd probably have to turn on the power supply here.
There we go.
Now try it.
Thank you, assistant.
Oh.
I see fans turning.
I see lights blinking.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, lights on.
Zotac.
Hey,
Oh, we see a post screen. Oh.
that's a form of
Update
communication.
Data to DMI update success. Boot from CD. All right.
Now we have ourselves an awesome computer ready for gaming.
Well, we still have to install the operating system
Yes,
and all
we
the
do.
drivers for all the components that we've now put in.
Which, as we mentioned earlier, we got Windows.
The operating system's doing its thing. The hard drive is checked in. We verified that because it read 128. It's small hard drive, but it's solid state, so we'll be putting a bigger one in just for some storage. The video card is obviously working because we're seeing the message. We're looking pretty good right now.
RAM is working because
Yeah.
it wouldn't be doing anything.
It
if
wouldn't
the
even...
RAM-
wouldn't
Reset button is not working so far.
I will fix that. I think I turned one of those switches around. Those are those little teeny tiny
Yeah,
ones.
I remember those.
Yeah, I'll fix that. I promise.
Starting Windows.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this DIY PC, do-it-yourself PC. I did it myself with some help of Sean,
Yeah,
the
well,
pro.
you built it all. I just kind of gave you some guidance.
Very simple. Hope you guys enjoyed this piece. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that piece on the DIY PC build, and it was actually pretty easy.
Is that a condo or a PC? That's like Sean's new condo.
If something happens to me, I might just live in there
that thing's
temporarily.
Giant, man.
If I want to save a little bit of money, I could just move right in.
I know. I couldn't believe how big it was.
Yeah, it was actually huge.
That is the biggest. I think any case that we have in the studio could fit inside that case. That's how big it was.
Luckily, it wasn't too hard to build because I did have a lot of moving room, and Sean had mentioned to me.
Well, you climbed in it at one point, didn't you?
Sean had mentioned to me that, you know, in the past, building computers was a lot more difficult, being that the space is a lot more tighter, and there's not as much room to move around and.
Yeah, so it definitely made it easier to film too, and be able to get into show.
To get all up in there.
Exactly, to show them.
Just to remind all viewers out there, if you are planning on building your own PC, make sure to refer to your manuals, as we were constantly doing that.
Yes, we were.
Although it was something that has been done before, parts change and different manufacturers make things, and they vary from piece to piece. So just
and make sure you get the new drivers for everything, and take your time. You know, don't rush through it.
But it was lots of fun.
It is fun. It's like you're building your own, your own race car when you're doing it for sim racing. I mean, I only built PCs to sim race with. I mean, and I've built my share, that's for sure. And it's like building your own little race car, especially when you fire it up that first time. It's really cool. I mean, I saw the look on your face when we fired it up, so it was cool. Lots of fun. Well,
hope you guys enjoyed this 63rd edition of Inside Sim Racing. For our next show on the 64th, we have Townsend Bell on the show. Sean interviewed him.
That's right, IndyCar driver. I couldn't be there, actually. I was sick, unfortunately. I didn't get to join him for that. But yeah, he got to go to the CXC shops, and where Townsend's been doing some testing off and on in that sim and helping Chris get it dialed in. And Sean asked him some great questions, got a great interview.
So look forward to IndyCar driver Townsend Bell on our next episode.
Sim racer and IndyCar driver.
Sim racer and IndyCar driver. That's correct.
Right.
See, sim racing is a great community.
That's right.
All right, and make sure you visit our forums at our website, InsideSimRacing.tv. I'm going to be starting a new thread in there a little later today.
What about?
And that's a surprise.
All right.
But by the time you guys see this, it'll already be up, so hopefully you're visiting our website. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe to our channel and comment on our show. Let us know what you think.
Comment, rate, do all the good stuff there.
What you want to see, any games you want to suggest, any titles, any products, and so forth. Other than
Checker flag?
That's it. Checker flag is out.
So are we.
So are we.
Ready.
Oh, sorry.
Cuckoo! Cuckoo!
My bad. Burr. Okay.